Today we're going to be discussing a citation that the Illinois Department of Public Health recently issued to West Suburban Nursing Home in Bloomingdale after a resident there had to be admitted to the hospital after missing 4 scheduled sessions of dialysis. My name is Barry Doyle. I'm a lawyer in Skokie, practicing nursing home abuse and neglect work throughout the state of Illinois. I'm also the author of Built to Fail, a free report available for download from my website, which spells out how the nursing home business model inevitably produces unnecessary injuries and deaths for nursing home residents. The resident who's involved in this particular incident was a new admit to the nursing home. He had recently experienced an episode of acute kidney failure and had orders in place for rehabilitation, including dialysis. Now, the proper course when a nursing home accepts a resident or is considering accepting a resident into the facility is to determine whether or not the nursing home can meet the care needs of the resident. If they can't, then the proper course for the nursing home is to decline the admission. Now, this resident required dialysis care, and this particular facility had a dialysis unit in place in the building, which was operated by an outside company. So the nursing home, in theory, should have been able to provide care for this resident. And there was a process in place by which residents who were new admits to the nursing home would be admitted or put on the schedule for the dialysis center. And essentially what that involved was notifying the dialysis center that there was a new resident in the building who required dialysis. The dialysis center would add them to the schedule and then notify the nursing staff that a resident had to be brought down at a particular time to undergo dialysis. This process broke down because when the resident was admitted to this nursing home, the nurse who received the resident at the time of admission was an agency nurse. An agency nurse is a nurse who's essentially from a temp agency, who's not a regular full-time employee of the nursing home. This agency nurse was unaware of what the whole process was that had to be followed to get a resident put on the schedule for dialysis. At the time of the admission, the agency nurse only entered orders for prescription medications onto the resident's chart and not the treatment orders, because she wasn't able to reach the physician to verify what those treatment orders were. So as a result, on the resident's chart, there weren't orders in place for the resident to receive dialysis, even though that was what had been ordered for him at the hospital. And the dialysis center hadn't been notified that there was a resident in the building who needed dialysis services. As a result, the resident went a little over a week without getting dialysis done. He missed a grand total of 4 sessions before he alerted a nurse practitioner that he hadn't gotten the dialysis that had been ordered. The nurse practitioner determined the proper course at that point was to send the resident to the hospital for care and for dialysis, and he was sent to the hospital where ultimately he survived this entire incident. Many times that's not the case, because dialysis takes the place of functioning kidneys. Kidneys serve a purpose of flushing out toxins from the body and serving to remove fluids from the body. When a person doesn't have working kidneys, these functions are impaired, and as a result, toxins can accumulate within the body, and the residents can end up experiencing fluid overload, which can cause respiratory and cardiac failure. So it's a very significant issue, and missing 4 sessions of dialysis for many residents would have proven fatal. In this particular case, we had a number of issues in the care that this resident received, starting with failing to train the agency staff on the processes that had to be followed during the admission of the resident. If the nurse was unaware of what the processes were, this is a systemic failure in the training that the resident receives. Secondly, there wasn't a process in place by which the orders that were um, issued at the time of discharge from the hospital were verified by the staff. This is a normal part of the admissions process, and the failure to do this resulted in the orders for the dialysis not being put onto the resident's chart. Finally, there was a lot of discussion within the citation as to exactly whose role it was to notify the dialysis center, whether it was the admissions staff or the nursing staff. There weren't clear-cut roles as to who is responsible for notifying the dialysis center. There's a saying in business that when everyone is responsible, no one is responsible. And without clear-cut rules assigning the responsibility for notifying the dialysis center of residents who are new admissions who need to receive dialysis, any new admission who enters the facility and is in need of dialysis is at risk of not getting the services that they require. I hope you find this interesting. If you have any questions regarding this or any other nursing home abuse and neglect issue, please feel free to reach out to us. Our number is 312-263-1080, or we can be reached on the internet at www.accidentlawillinois.com. Thanks for watching.